Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome indeed to the new build of Nekroz in 2020, showing off the new card, the Nekroz of Areadbhair. So if you guys are excited about Nekroz getting some more support, drop a like on this video because, well, they're getting new support and this is one of the cards. So what it does allow the archetype to do is add another negation to their disposal. Now, Nekroz on their own, they don't really have that much negate, so mixing it in with the Dogmatica or Dragmas, whatever you want to call them, is going to definitely help out the deck quite a bit. Because with the Areadbhair, what it allows you to go ahead and do as a quick effect, you contribute a monster from your hand or field to negate the activation of an effect when a monster effect is activated, and then banish the card. So it doesn't just destroy it, it actually banishes, which is quite nice because usually that's a little bit better. And it actually has pretty good stats. It's 3,300, and on top of that, you know, Nekroz still have a lot of searchability in their deck. So the opponent over here happens to make an AB 0. So this is going to be an upgrade deck profile. We'll have multiple builds for you guys and multiple different techs and other things that you should actually know about if you're actually facing off against this deck, as this deck does have a few things that are important to go ahead and mention, like Unicore, where, well, sometimes when older cards reemerge, people just don't read Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you know, it's just kind of a thing. But he goes ahead and is able to go negate Stratus and banish it, which is quite nice. Again, in a hero deck, sometimes, depending on what build they play, if they play like Miracle or anything, they might actually prefer it in the graveyard. But some other cards, like the Shiny, can get stuff that's banished. But for the most part, I would say negating and banishing is probably better than negating and destroying. But nonetheless, Unicore is still a fantastic card. It doesn't have the greatest of stats. I really wish that this had the effect where they could only target this card, because therefore it would protect Unicore. Because the one problem that Nekroz really have is the whole goal is to go make Unicore against most decks. Because with this card's effect, you get to negate the effects of face-up monsters on the field that were special from the extra, which is a really good effect, but they can still just make the card run over Unicore, and then their effects are activated. That's like the biggest problem that I would say Nekroz have at the moment, if you are matching up against that matchup where you just want to stop the extra deck. But there are other matchups, like you can make it so your opponent can't do other things, but for the most part, I would say that's the golden way to go ahead and play if you don't know what you're running into. And like, at the end of the day, is this deck going to be setting up with like tons of negates turn one? No, it very rarely will be able to negate multiple things. With the Dogmatica engine, it definitely helps out with a couple negates, but are you going to be able to negate every single card? I don't think so, at least not at the moment. Maybe in the future when they add some extra cards. But they are a very resilient deck, meaning that it can survive for a while. Like if you like grind game decks, Nekroz actually does quite a great job, as a lot of the fusion cards, they can recycle themselves and they have really good searchability. This guy actually put in the warning point over here, so it's going to go ahead and make it so its effects are negated. It can't be used for fusion, synchro, exceed, or link summon. But because you're playing the Dogmatica, depending on what build you play, you might not even need to even go into your extra deck, but there's a really cool card if you do happen to play it, which we'll show off later, which is the Stall card, which is excellent. Just adds a little bit more to them. If you can surprise your opponent with like a Winda or something, it could be quite great. And then this guy's running the Gate Blocker, which is a fantastic card, but not so much against the Nekroz Trishula, because of course Trishula does not actually target. Now, here's an important ruling. He tried to DD Crow the Herald of Arclight, but it already was activated over here, so he kind of went -1. Ideally, you would try to get rid of potentially the spells in Nekroz, as a lot of them just recycle themselves. Like for example, Overmir over here has this effect where is it? You can tribute monsters from your hand or field, or you can banish the Nekroz monsters from your graveyard. So maybe that could be an option to go ahead and banish those as well. But if you control no monsters, you can banish this from your graveyard. Or I'm sorry, you banish this card and one Nekroz monster from your graveyard to add a Nekroz spell from your deck to your hand. So they do happen to have recyclability. So he probably should have tagged one of those with the Crow instead of activating it on Herald when Herald activating its effect, which is actually more relevant with Kaleidoscope as well, because this is a very important card to know the ruling on it, as Nekroz are going to get a little bit more popular as they get more support. Now this guy, unfortunately, he decided to go for number 41. Unicore does negate that effect. So he's not going to be able to get any value out of this card over here. He just went ahead and just said GG's. But so that was just more of an important ruling, and obviously this does not stop the board that he already had out. Now I kind of want to show you guys, again, since it's an upgraded deck profile, some losses as well, kind of showing off, you know, where the deck would fall short of. I would say it definitely doesn't deal well with going second all the time. Just like any other Yu-Gi-Oh deck, when they put up so many negates, it can be very difficult. But because a lot of their stuff is based off of the spells, it is excellent for that reason of, it's a lot harder to stop spells than I would say monster effects. A lot of decks will end on like Appaloosa with multiple negates. Now he's going to go ahead and opt to play, I would argue there's a little bit more passively in the deck, but he's got 3 hand traps ready to go, so he's going to go ahead and get hit up by an evenly. Then he's going to go ahead and try to use the servant, but that gets stopped, but it's okay. He's going to go ahead and go off now that the ash is out of the way, but he also gets hit up with a Veiler, so nothing going to be happening right now. And I would say in terms of the builds, because this is from a variety of people, shout out to all the people that are in here so far, like Nero over here and Playmaker, but I think that the deck is probably most powerful when you combine it with the Dogmatica. In fact, I'd say almost anything Dogmatica is like you splash it in if you have some extra room, because it's not only good for a grind game, because that's how this deck is oriented right now. I've seen some people try out lots of different hand traps as well, which can also kind of provide that extra negation or protection that you need. But the main problem, again, really comes down to Unicore just not having enough attack. I really wish the newer card like boosted up, like either made it so they were forced to attack it, or made it so like Unicore just had extra attack, or it's like it boosts up like all your other Nekros by like 500 or something. It's all it really needs is like 500, and this card would be just so much more powerful. But he's going to go ahead and actually lose out on this because he just lost out on too many resources over here. As Prank Kids, I mean, they just need 1 card and they can kind of go off. Whereas with the Nekroz, they definitely need a few cards, but you can still utilize stuff out of the graveyard. Another thing that would actually destroy this deck is any macro variant. So if you get wrecked by, you know, not having a graveyard, this is one of those decks as well. But this is up against Dark World. Dark World actually did get some more newer support, and I don't think we've covered it because I don't think anyone was really interested in playing it. This is more of like an older archetype. I feel like the new Nekroz, like if you guys are wondering, you know, is this deck good right now? I think at the moment it needs a couple extra cards. Like, it's good with the Dogmatica, but on its own, I think, again, it just needs a few extra cards. Like, on an end board of like 1 negate. And like, yeah, I know you can have impermanents, you can have other cards, but those are just cards in general. But he actually has the Shadal Ruck over here, which is actually a really good card. It potentially lets you go ahead and, again, have more to your deck, which we'll get into later down the line. But he's going to go ahead and attack into it. Fortunately, it just loses out to Grapha. Because Unicore, sometimes blindly making Unicore isn't that great, because Deno players will laugh at your face. Dark World, well, this doesn't really do anything. Now, this is important over here since he already added the Nekroz card. I think his idea was, I got to stop the Nekroz card. But what's going to happen is this card is going to go ahead and come out, and the end chest is just going to go ahead and pop the other card. So I think he really should have stopped that card with the number 38. Again, it's just harder to negate spell cards, unless, of course, you make Nat Beast. But now he has the Al Capone over there. Going to be activating that effect, and he's got Ruck ready to go. Again, it doesn't really hurt Dark Worlds that much, but what's a really great card is Trishula. This is a card I haven't seen in a long time. But again, there was, where's the new Dark World card? I believe it's this one over here, the Reinforcements. Again, it's okay, but I just haven't seen anyone cover it, so this is like the one time you get to see it. I don't feel like it's like worthy of making a whole new build of Dark Worlds with 1 card. But Nekroz, it's a little bit more, because I think that Nekroz have a lot more potential than Dark Worlds, at least in its current state, because Dark Worlds need a lot more than just like that 1 new card. This is a really good set of duels against Hero deck over here, but this is Back's build over here. But again, Shrit is just so much nicer to have. Excellent card indeed. You can see he's also taking in different Dimension Ground. And there's a lot of different cards that you can play, as there's not, I guess there's like Valk, but there's not too many things that you really need to keep. Like Ancient and Ascended is a fantastic card as well. It's another one of those like anti-hand trap cards where you have a quick effect that you can discard it when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a monster you control. But again, I think the biggest problem is if you blindly make Unicore, you can instantly lose, which is, again, unfortunate. But some of the plays in this deck end up being just what I would consider very mediocre. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that extra damage. There is a card technically that boosts your stats. It was like Decisive Armor or something like that. Most people don't play it, but there is technically a way if you want to argue it. Yeah, I know you can boost up Unicore, but like most people won't even want to bother playing it because it makes your bad matchups like even worse and can brick harder. Nekroz isn't like a brick deck. It's just that like it doesn't have the resources it needs, I would say, to deal with multiple negates that, you know, most decks will just be throwing out. But it does activate off of spells, so that is one benefit that you do happen to have with the archetype. But now we're going to go ahead and see him just pop off. He's got the polymerization ready to go over here, and he's going to go ahead and go for Dystopia. And he's going to go ahead and now go for the Fleur-de-Lis, the Knighted, which has that ability to go ahead and negate a card, but he's going to go ahead and make the Cross Crusader over here, and then he's going to go ahead and make a Dystopia again anyways, and then he's going to go ahead and activate that effect, pop it, and he's going to go ahead and have to say GG over here. But like I said, since I did want to go ahead and cover it and the ins and outs of it. So I think one thing that this deck could really benefit from is obviously running cards like this can be very good. But at the end of the day, like any deck that, like, if your opponent just uses all the resources and you slam them with an Nibiru, you could instantly win anyways. But I would say that I would highly recommend considering Nibiru. Dark Ruler No More could be okay too. The problem is that like it's hard to throw up like 5 monsters in Nekroz if your opponent summons that amount of monsters to really deal with that. Obviously Trishula is excellent, and that will get rid of like 1 on board. Now, if we're talking about basically like a full board of like, let's say 4 or 5 monsters, you're only able to get rid of like 2, which is still great sometimes, but maybe even 3, it could be pushing it, depending on if you have the Dogmatica too. But like, that's the problem I see with running cards like Dark Ruler No More. I would rather just run Nibiru personally, but like, look at this token. He's a big boy, 9,000, but he happens to have the draw hand, so he's gonna go ahead and go right into Dark Law, which is very, very difficult for certain decks to go ahead and deal with. Like I said, this is basically the bane of it, because when the cards go away. Now, in this instance over here, he was able to go ahead and stop that card's effect, which was really good. Big IQ play, excellent over there. And then he can get his cards in the, well, he's going to try to get his cards in the graveyard, but that's still a very big token boy over here. So he's going to go ahead and be able to go ahead and summon this, and he's going to go and slam into the... But Valk is still an excellent card, as this card is like a battle fader, if you will, for the archetype. But he still has to deal with this relatively large monster. But Enchant's just going to go ahead and be able to pop that big token. He's still got a Chalice over here, so Bryo's going to go ahead and activate its effect. Get a Search Out, Kaleidoscope's going to go and activate, and he's going to go ahead and be able to Trishula, which is still a fantastic card. It's just, I would say, a little bit slower than what people would like, you know, the archetype to go ahead and be. If we're looking at a successful deck, you really need to be able to be making multiple negates. As the Dogmatica, again, they do help at the end of the day. But we'll go ahead and see the Saint, and he's going to go ahead and be able to go ahead and attack and swing for game. So that was a good set of duels over there. But anyways, now that you guys have seen it in action, let's go ahead and hop right into the deck profile for the new Nekroz. Alright, so hopping right into the deck profiles, keep in mind there are several different builds, and so I'll go through these a little bit faster. However, I will also go ahead and provide the download files for you guys via the Discord. But yeah, there are different ways to go ahead and play it. You know, we didn't really see any Manjus be summoned. It's still an okay card, but having the Dogmatica can be quite nice to go ahead and have access to as well, to go ahead and have a additional like way to summon some stuff. But it's pretty much similar in most of the builds in terms of what you're going to be going for. And the extra deck even is pretty much the same. But this is Labor's build. He did actually have a few different builds. So he did side deck the Nibirus, which is excellent against, again, most decks in general. I would definitely suggest main decking it, because it doesn't really have the best ability to go ahead and deal with an opponent's board. You did see some people playing permanents. There was actually him playing the different dimensional ground as well, so he's trying to go ahead and utilize some other tech choices. But I would basically suggest, again, Nibiru over Dark Ruler No More, as it's sometimes harder to deal with multiple other things. Now, this is a card I didn't get to talk about, but it does let you add another Spellcaster type Necro Ritual monster from your deck to your hand if it's tributed by a card effect. Now, remember this card's effect, Areadbhair, is able to go ahead and tribute a monster to go ahead and activate it. You could probably get some other value out of other cards that would activate off of tributing, but that would be like another quick little tip over there. But yeah, like I said, I'll go over most of these a little bit fast, as we have a lot of different builds that people were playing. But as far as the extra deck over here, I really like the one where he was able to go ahead and use Shadal and utilize the Ruck over here. It's a really nice build. Now, obviously, this one, he's an OCG player, so he's playing like 2 copies of Called by the Grave. He's playing Maxi, but obviously you can throw in more Veilers if you want to, or whatever case the case may be. to go ahead and make up for it. But this was just another build over here, and I like seeing other people's builds. But anyways, that's gonna go ahead and wrap it up for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and big shouts to all those guys for playing those. You guys had some really cool ideas over there. I really like the Shadal one though. That's actually my favorite, since you're able to go ahead and make use of the Dogmatica, again sending some of the stuff to the graveyard. It's great. But anyways, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you are new here and you want to see more new Yu-Gi-Oh decks in the future, make sure you guys are subscribed with that bell notification on, and you'll definitely see more very soon. But take care, guys, and I'll catch you on the next video. I'm signing out. Peace.